All right, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Empowered in Health, you guys. I am so excited for today's guest. I have Bridget Wheeler here. She is a dear friend of mine, and I am so excited for you guys to hear her story about where she was maybe 5 to 7 years ago to where she is now, some of her passions, what she's doing in her day to day, and talking to you a little bit about her personal health and wellness journey. So, Bridget, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be a great conversation. I'm super excited. So we're
Yes.
going to kind of dive right in. I would love for you to start with just sharing a little bit more about kind of your personal wellness journey, your professional journey, and where you were maybe, 5 to 7 years ago to where you are now.
Yes, I would love to share. So first and foremost, I'm a wife to an amazing man, Tate, and mama to three. And Aaron and I have known each other for a little over 7 years, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy to see how our lives have changed dramatically since that time that we first kind of got connected. And it's been a total like 180 for me. So like I started as a CPA 7.5 years ago. I was working in corporate America, climbing the corporate ladder, all that kind of stuff. And the Lord called me home when my youngest daughter was born. So I have three kids. They're 10, 8, and 5. So 5 years, almost 6 years ago, actually, because she's going to turn 6 in 2 months. It's so crazy. But the Lord called me home to be a stay-at-home mom. And I told myself I would never be a stay-at-home mom. But the reason I was able to do that is because I was starting, had kind of like a side hustle with Beachbody and being able to work on my wellness journey and sharing that with others. And that's how Aaron and I had become connected, is in this wellness industry. And so being able to do that, I felt good about myself in the sense of taking care of myself, but then able to provide for my family in a way that I was able to step away confidently in the corporate world when the Lord did call me home, because I had something else to kind of fill my cup. Because I had told myself I would never be a stay-at-home mom. I was like, that job is not for me. And
Right,
I was
right.
always like admired mothers that could do that. And coming full circle, like today, I am now a homeschool mom, not only a stay-at-home mom, but a homeschool mom to my three children. And also, I am a Christ-centered financial coach. It's something, finances are a big part of my testimony, and being able to share that gift that God has given me with other people. And it all started, though, I think about that journey, and it all started with my wellness journey and
Yep.
transforming that from the inside out.
Right, right. Oh my goodness. It's so incredibly powerful and true because taking care of ourselves, working on our wellness is a huge piece to just kind of
Yes.
giving us that clarity um,
Yes.
towards what's next, where are we being called to, and all of that. So,
Mhm.
B, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, you said your finance is a passion of yours, you're a
Yep.
homeschool mom. As you were kind of navigating that transition and you felt like you were being called to do this, like what really felt overwhelming for you? Like what really felt like it was maybe going to be a big challenge with that transition?
The big thing was like, I am a person that loves structure and routine. And if you're changing that, I'm like, am I going to have that with just staying home? But then also the big financial piece, because I feel like that has been something that I've held on with clenched fists. Like in 2012, I think about is when Tate and I were big Dave Ramsey fans. And so that's when we started the whole debt-free snowball, like the 7 baby steps, all that kind of stuff. And I could see God unclenching those fists during that time. But as I was working the corporate ladder, Tate and I were both working, and then him telling me to step away and let go of that big salary. And I'm like, how are we going to provide? Like, how
Right,
are we going to do
right,
all this? And he's just like, have faith and trust. And I had to do that. Granted, I had this side hustle, but it was not making what my salary was as a CPA.
right,
But the overwhelm comes with the financial burden that stepping away might have put on our family and my husband, but also like the structure and routine that I'm used to as a very hardworking woman, and everything that I did day to day. And so I knew, though, there was certain things I could still control, and that was taking care of myself. And people would comment after I had DM and then I did step away that, oh, you still get up really early. And I'm like, yes, because that's something I can control. And having that
right.
time for me before I am on mom duty of I have to wake up for myself, not mom, 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 mom. Like that's
Right.
what I've always told people. And so I knew there were certain things that I could control to help with the overwhelm. And so I continued to do those practices after stepping away from my full-time job, to be able to have some sort of sense or schedule or routine during that time.
Yeah, and that's so good. Like I love that as a just a reminder for us as moms
Yes.
because it's so easy to fall into that trap of kind of being on like defense, right? And just kind of that
Yes.
reaction mode
Yes.
versus like being proactive, getting up, being on offense, taking care of ourselves and waking up for yourself. Like I love that as a reminder and I love that you've been kind of leaning on that over time and have learned how important that is in your day-to-day life.
For sure.
Um, Okay, Bridget, I'd love for you to share this piece because you guys, if you don't know Bridget Wheeler, you need to go follow her. Remind people what your handle is again on Instagram.
True freedom solutions. So like
Okay.
there's a period between the true and freedom and then freedom solutions.
Okay. True Freedom Solutions. Guys, she is one of the most joyful, happy people I've ever met in my life. Like she just has this energy where
Mhm.
she is able to cultivate every single day a way to find joy, a way to lean on the good, a way to see the good, a way to, make sure that she's instilling habits in her household and in her family where they're just staying positive. And it's something that I've
Mhm.
always admired about you, Bridget. And I want you to talk a little bit about, when it comes to feeling joyful and happy in your day to day. Like you talked a little bit about your habit of waking up for you, getting up in the morning, why that matters. But I'd love for you to talk about maybe some other habits or other things, practices, your faith. What are things that you do inside your individual life, but also in your household that really kind of cultivates that joyful spirit?
Yes. So I always say my joy comes from the Lord. I have the joy of the Lord.
Yeah.
And I can see, and it's one of those things I didn't know that growing up. I feel like I've always been a joyful person, and it's something my mother has, but now as a mother myself, I see it in my kids as well. And other people have recognized it and shared it with me. And so I'm like, oh, yes, the joy of the Lord. And so when I talk about the morning time, the number one thing I do to start my morning is reading the Bible and having the time with God and just his goodness and faithfulness each and every morning and being reminded of that because we don't know what the day will bring. We might wake up to, or crabby kids might wake up, whatever it might be, and to just have that my fuel in the morning, not only be reading the Bible, but then also having that workout done that I've taken care of myself. Those are two big pieces of my fuel each and every day to have the joy that I have. Gratitude is a big part, something that my husband preaches a lot about is gratitude. And that's something we practice with our kids, even in our homeschool day-to-day routine. Like both my boys, they know how to read, they know how to write. So guess what? They have gratitude journals just like their mom and dad do. And so each morning, I think it's important to not only have gratitude for what you have, you can think of the big things like it is negative degrees out here right now. So I'm thankful
Right.
for a nice big warm house, but gratitude and thinking of something that literally happened in the last 24 hours. I think that's something that totally shifted because I'm grateful for my health. Yes, each and every single day. But when I shifted it to what happened in the last 24 hours, it changes where you go throughout your day to
Mhm.
be like, tomorrow morning, I'm going to write down 3 things I'm grateful for that happened throughout this day. What can I find that I'm grateful for? What are the good pieces in there? And you can
Right.
always, always find 3 things throughout your day that you are grateful for that happened throughout that day. And
Right.
so, like I said, like reading the Bible, my workout, and then practicing gratitude each day. And then having reminders throughout your home, I think are helpful for me to be reminded of the joy of the Lord and surrounding yourself with those positive people. I don't follow people on social media that bring me down, like
Right.
I
Right.
want positivity. And so I think that's a big component, being that people are on social all the time. Like it's a time suck for
Yeah.
many. And so
Yeah.
I want to be that positive light for other people. And I want my feed to be filled with that positive light too, because I think that helps always looking at the cup half full.
Yeah. And you have taught me that. Oh my gosh. Bridget has taught me that over and over and over since day one of meeting her. Like
Mhm.
we've worked really closely in different capacities through different seasons in our businesses and just through mom life and so much more. And that has been something that she has continually reminded me of and something I'm so grateful for because it's really easy to get into that headspace of feeling like doomsday or whatever, super
Mhm.
negative. And I love those habits, Bridget. I love that you kind of instill that into your home. It's so powerful.
So
um,
powerful.
and really cool to see. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about, as far as your personal journey, transitioning from CPA to homeschool mom. You've been on quite a personal journey, right? A lot of
Mhm.
refining, a lot of learning and unlearning. Talk about maybe some things that you've learned along the way that you wish you would have known sooner or embraced sooner, as you've kind of transitioned to where you are now.
Yes, I love that you use the word refining because that's how exactly I would describe it. Like the Lord refines us in so many different ways, just like a person with silver, they refine the silver constantly. And so many things I wish I would have knew at the beginning, but I'm thankful for the lessons I've learned because it's brought me where I am today. I think I am such a structure and schedule routine that I feel like everything always had to be perfect when it came to my wellness journey as well, whether it be eating, following the calendar to a T, whatever it might be. And I've learned over
Mm.
the years, flexibility is good. Listening to your body is the most important thing to do.
Yep.
And that healthy is not defined by a size, six-pack abs, or what the body looks like. Your inside tells you so much about your body, whether that be through your skin, whatever's coming out of you, whatever it
Yeah.
might be, like your body tells you so much. And there's so much more important things to be focused on, especially nutrition wise, and gut health and all that kind of stuff versus the strength or whatever it might be, lifting whatever kind of weights, having whatever size of jeans, all that kind of stuff. And so
Mhm.
I think when people start their journey, they see this, they get attached to it because of an image they see. But
Right.
then as they, just like myself, you get involved and you're learning and growing as you are on this wellness journey because it's a never ending journey. And so you're learning more and more about like what it actually truly means to be healthy. And that's something I really wish I would have known at the beginning, but I'm thankful for the lessons I did learn because it, like I said, brought me where I am today.
Yeah, and it's something that we all learn, right? Like
Yeah.
practice makes progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned very much the same thing. And as you've made a transition from working to where you were to coming home and homeschooling and doing all of the passionate things you do at home, which we're going to talk about in a second, like you learn a shift in your priorities, right? And
Mm-hmm.
alongside that, you learn kind of what really matters most to you as far as living a healthy lifestyle and what that feels like to you and how you can personally define that.
Exactly.
So I love how you shared that, B. That's so incredibly important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that kind of brings me to, and this is the super exciting part. You guys, I mean, you guys have heard Bridget's story, her transition from CPA to homeschool mom, and how she's kind of working on really, bringing the joy every day, which is one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I've appreciated about Bridget for so long. So I want to talk a little bit about what are you doing to kind of fill your cup right now when it comes to joyful hobbies, and things that you're working into as you build more of your own kind of offerings and business out of your home. Let's talk a little bit about the things that you're starting right now, the things that you're focusing your energy and time on right now, and just how you enjoy them.
Yes, I love to do things that excite me.
Yeah,
I'm a very exciting person, but if I'm doing something, I'm like, oh, I'm not excited about this, then I usually lay it down because
right.
like I said, the joy of the Lord. And so right now I love being able to share financial wellness, stewarding our finances well on social media in
Mhm.
different capacities. And in addition to that, different ways we can save money because I love saving money.
Right.
And one of those ways is like I have a love and joy of making sourdough bread. It is
Yeah.
something I started a year and a half ago and almost 2 years ago in May. But it's one of those things like I was like, I'm just gonna start this. I saw so many people doing it for COVID during COVID, and I was just like, oh, good for them, But then I just got this inkling, like, you should start it. And so in 2022, I just decided to start doing it. And since then, it's become just such a joy and a love of mine. And I have like I started a recipe and it became so time consuming, the one I was following. I'm like, this is not ideal for a busy mom. Even as a
Yeah.
homeschool mom, I am busy. And so it's
Right.
like, I need something that's really time efficient to do as a busy mom and being able to bless others in this way because I started making bread for people, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, what could make this more efficient? So I tweaked it as I went along and I found a tried and true way of being able to make bread with ease and time efficiency. And I decided to drop it as a digital product, an ebook with video instructions so that others can really truly make bread and bless their family as well. Because I think well, not only is it way cleaner than any other bread you're probably eating in the store, It also, I make mine with all organic ingredients, but then also you're saving money on the food budget by not buying loaves of bread. Like,
Right.
obviously, we're in a time of inflation right now. Everything is so expensive. So I'm like, even one small area that I can save money, I'm not going to buy bread anymore. I'm just going to make it. And so that's what I've done. And it's evolved into making more things. But the first thing I decided to put out is just so everybody else can make, sourdough as well. And then I'll continue to share as I make more recipes, which I'm really excited about.
I love that. Will you quickly share kind of where you shop for your organic ingredients, and do you go to different stores, or is there one specific method that you use?
So mainly Costco and
Okay.
Trader Joe's. And so those are the
Okay.
two that I wouldn't say are super close to me. Like, I timed it out because I'm all about time efficiency too. And so Diem and I went shopping the other night before a snowstorm. I was like, I'm going to time this out. We're going to try to beat the boys home from wrestling. Sure enough, we got it done in an hour and a half. And I have a 20-minute drive to Costco. So we
Wow.
got gas. And Costco was busy because we were getting a snowstorm.
Right.
But mainly Costco and Trader Joe's are the two main places. If there's something that I might not be able to get, I think most people, there's a store called Fresh Time. I'll get
Mhm.
them there. But otherwise, it's mainly Trader Joe's and Costco.
Okay, good to know, because I know that, there's so many different places people can shop all over
Yeah.
the place. And
Hmm.
we're always looking for organic or best deals and things along those lines. So I love that you kind of mentioned those two great places to kind of look for ingredients.
Yes.
So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about your ebook. I'm super excited for you to launch this out into the world for people to
Mhm.
access. So share a little bit about, what it is exactly, how people can access it, um, and when you launched it.
Yes, I'll go happy to. So on my Instagram page, I do have a link for a stand store, and in there is a sourdough ebook. And what I had done was, like I said, it was something that I put together after realizing the recipe I was following was just too time consuming and not that easy, that I wanted to find something that was truly efficient for a busy mom. I think of the working mom that works outside the home. And so I'm just like, I want her to still be able to bless her family, even though she's not home all the time.
Right.
And so I thought of like, what can I do to make that into a very inefficient recipe? And so I did that. But what I had found for myself too, because I was originally just going to do the book. And then I realized when I was making it for the first time, I mean, there's so many free resources out there though too. Like, I could go on Instagram, people have highlight bubbles, and I was literally like, okay, watching it, and then I would do it, and then I have to tab all the way through the highlights to see the next
Right.
video and like all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to put this all in a nice, concise place so
Right.
that the mom can have it on her computer or print it out. I even put QR codes or links, depending on if you're on the computer or print it out, to be able to pop the video up of me on that specific step. And
Right.
so I just was like, and I just want to make it budget friendly, because sometimes there is, if you don't have the supplies already, you do need some supplies in making sourdough. But in the long run, it just truly is so much more cost savings and better for you, that I'm like, I'm going to just put this together and, tie a little bow on top and make it available for people. And that's what I did. And so it was so fun to put together.
So fun.
It took some time because we had a little hiccups along the way with life, but I was just like, I'm determined to get this done, and I'm just going to be able to share it with others so that they can utilize this as well.
I love that, B. It's such a gift, right? It's such a
Mhm.
gift. And
Yes.
to your point, like, just simple things for us as moms to implement inside
Mhm.
our day to day with our families, inside our own personal wellness journey. Like, simplicity matters,
Yes. Yes.
because we all live busy lives where it can get so loud and so overwhelming that anything that we
Mhm.
can have in our back pocket to make it a little bit easier is such a gift.
Yes.
And so I'm
I,
so excited for you, my friend.
thank you.
I will make sure, everybody, that you can, or that you have the link to access Bridget's sourdough ebook and all of the materials inside the show notes of this podcast. So make sure you guys look at the show notes. You can also go over to her Instagram handle, which she'll share here in a minute. I just have two other quick questions before we kind of wrap up
Mhm.
our podcast interview today. Um, so I know we talked a little bit, obviously, about your personal wellness journey, kind of the
Mhm.
transition that you went through, from working mom, working a lot of hours out of the home, to where you are
Mhm.
now. And you know that one of my biggest passions, as someone who has a podcast, who's someone who coaches in the women's health space, I'm just a firm believer in sharing the truth of our stories, right? Like, being really transparent, sharing about the real and the raw, and just getting real about inside out wellness, what that feels like, what
Mhm.
that looks like, and how we all have to individually define it, right? So I'd love your personal opinion on why you feel like women sharing their stories very authentically is so important for us, especially as moms.
The number one reason, so you don't feel alone, others don't feel alone. And you specifically, even when you share yours and you get that message from somebody that, oh my gosh, the same thing happened to me, or I feel the same way. It's like, you're not alone with whatever you're going through, whether that be good or bad, And
Right.
so there's so much good in our journeys, but there are those hiccups along the way. And I think so often as women, we feel isolated in whatever we're thinking or feeling, which is not true. That is a lie of
Right.
the enemy.
Right.
But it's one of those things, like when you share it and put it out there, it allows others to realize, oh, I'm not alone, because maybe they truly do feel like they are alone and they're just sitting in these thoughts, and it's like not good for your overall health and mental space to be in that place. And I also think it's because you have a solution, a gift, whatever it might be, to offer to someone else that can truly help them or heal them, whatever it might be. And so the Lord has uniquely gifted all of us differently, and these are gifts to be shared with others. And so I think it's amazing that social media is a platform where we can reach many people. And when you are your authentic self and you are sharing the real and the raw, you're able to help those people that are in need of a solution, and it can totally transform their lives. I think
Mhm.
of like my coach when I originally started and how it brought me to where I am today. So
Mhm.
although my journey is different from when it was when it first started, I'm thankful for that, because I wouldn't be where I am today in the road that God has me on for that. And so I think it's just so helpful for the watcher, the person
Mhm.
receiving it, knows that they're not alone, and you as well, but then also you have that solution that could really truly help somebody.
Right. And I think it's so, I think for women especially, and I know Bridget and
Mhm.
I have had conversations around this, we assume way too fast, right? That
So fast.
what we have to offer, or what our experiences or what our thoughts may be about something don't matter, or irrelevant,
Mhm.
or can't bless someone else. When the reality
Mhm.
is it does. It really truly
Yes.
does, even down to the smallest little things.
Yes.
And over time, like, it's just incredibly powerful to just really connect with people, about how you feel, about what's going on,
Mhm.
about, what you're passionate about, what are you struggling with,
Mhm.
how can someone else pray for you? Like, all of those things really do matter, which is why, we've always talked about connection. And I'm just so grateful for the ways that you've connected me to so many great things, and I'm so excited for other people to connect with you and your joy and everything that you offer. So, last question before we kind of wrap it up, and you can tell people how to find you. I ask people on the hot podcast this question, and I love to hear kind of what everybody's different perspective is, and what comes to people's hearts. When it comes to like taking care of yourself, right?
Mhm.
Reminding you in your day to day to take care of yourself in the busyness of life, in the chaos of life. Do you have a favorite quote or mindset mantra, or as something that really reminds you, like, okay, yes, I have to fill my cup too because it's important?
Yeah. I wrote it down. So it's a question I ask myself. And so how can God use me if I'm not taking care of me?
Hmm.
And so we were gifted this body to steward well. And God has specific assignments for me, one of them being a homeschool mom for my children. Like that's like my number one job. And
Yeah.
so how can I steward my time well with them and be at the energy that my kids have if I don't take care of myself? If I'm not fueling myself like I know I need to each and every morning. Now, I know not everybody's a morning person, but I am one of those spring out of bed in the mornings to be able to go fill my cup, because I know how important it is for me to be able to have the energy and just do all the things that the Lord has placed in front of me, and being able to have take care of myself from the inside out. And so it's like to have the energy, to have the positivity, to have the gratitude, all those things require certain practices, and it just doesn't happen. I need to be stepping forward into different things to be able to do and have the discipline to do specific things. But it's like, am I doing that each and every day? And so
Right.
sometimes there's a day I miss, and guess what? I can
Yeah.
tell when I miss the fuel fill up kind of in
Right.
the morning. And so
Right.
that's a good question that I ask myself, is that if I'm taking care of me, to be able to take care of the things that the Lord has asked me to steward.
I love that. And I'm gonna spring an extra question on you because I think
Yeah.
this is really valuable for our listeners to hear. Um,
Mhm.
if you were thinking of the mom, maybe who really wants to do that, who's like, I'm ready
Mhm.
to fill my cup. I know this is important. How do I do it? Like, what would be your best advice for that mom? How would you encourage her to get started?
Well, if it's outside your comfort zone, that's a good thing. And
Yeah,
so I always say there, my husband's amazing at that, like growth happens outside your comfort zone. And so it's like making these small steps. I used to always say 1% different than the day before. And so if you're like, okay, I really want to wake up earlier, but it's really, really hard for me. And let's say you normally wake up at 7 a.m., try 15 minutes early. Like make
right,
those baby steps. I remember I read a story once where someone wanted to go to the gym and they just had to start the practice. They drove to the gym and then they drove home.
right,
They just had to start the practice. They didn't go inside and do an hour-long workout or anything. They just
right,
started the practice. And so it's like, it takes time. Like with my sourdough thing, was it perfect when I first started? No, but it took time to get to a place where I'm confident in making my sourdough bread now without reading instructions. And it's
right.
the same thing with our wellness journey. It's the same thing reading the Bible. It's the same thing starting a morning routine. Just small little steps added up. I think with finances too. If you're trying to
Yeah,
save for a new house, you don't have a big chunk of money to save right away. It's
right.
small little increments that add up. And so just taking that small step outside your comfort zone to be able to change and commit to yourself to doing it, but then letting it build upon that. And when you got that down for a week, all right, add 5 more minutes, just even smaller increments to give yourself that grace too.
Yeah, give yourself that grace. That is the
So much
key.
fun.
Because again, for women, we overanalyze, we assume too much, we don't give ourselves the grace, we think we have to be perfect. It's all these lies that we've made up over time.
Yes.
And so, Bridget, thank you so much for that advice and for just sharing your heart today. I am so
Yeah, of
incredibly
course.
grateful to connect with you. Like I've shared here on the podcast. Bridget is one of my dear friends. We have been working alongside each other, living alongside each other from afar because we don't live near
Yeah.
each other for years, and it's been such a gift to have you in my life. So I would love for you to quickly share before we kind of sign off. How can people find you online? Do you have a website, email, anything like that?
So the main way is Instagram because that's where it's all right now. So True Freedom Solutions. And in there, you'll just see I shared a bunch of different things, whether it be minimalist lifestyle, financial tips, sourdough, all the things. And then my website is linked right there for you as well.
Okay, awesome. Bridget, thank you so much for your time today. You guys make sure that you leave a review on this podcast. Let us know what you guys thought. Make sure you go to the show notes to grab Bridget's sourdough ebook. It's going to be
Yes.
awesome. I am so excited to purchase and to start implementing that into our home. Bridget, thank you again for your time today, friend. Talk to you
Yes,
soon.
thank you. Yep, bye-bye.